You ever have embarrassing things happen to you? I've just written a new book called Kid CEO, and Warner Faith is publishing it. I didn't really know this, but when you publish a book, especially with a big dog like Warner, they set you up in all these interviews to talk about the book. So I've done a lot of interviews on different radio stations, and recently I did an interview on a television show, and this television show was supposed to be shown around the world. So I showed up to this place, and I was supposed to be interviewed about the book, so I'm just like, standing there waiting to walk on stage. There were like 5 cameras, on the stage, all the lights and stuff, and I was pretty relaxed, a little bit of butterflies, but after all, it's a book I've written. I could answer questions about it. So I walked on stage, the host welcomes me, and he asked me one question about the book, and I talked for maybe about a minute. Then he shook my hand, he walked off stage and left me there. And I did this spin move, and I stare at the camera, and I'm looking, and the producer of the show is holding up a sign behind the camera that says 20 minutes. I had no notes, no Bible, no thought, no talk, no sermon. I totally blanked out. I started stumbling and fumbling. It was wheels off. I looked like a card-carrying idiot. Whack-a-doodle-doo, just like this. I had an out-of-body experience. I get nervous just telling you the story. The biggest fear we have is the fear of death. The second biggest fear is speaking before people, especially when you're not prepared. And when I walked off stage, weak-kneed, I said to myself, Ed, you didn't do what you've been talking about. You did not ask the right people the right questions to get the right answers. And when we don't do that, we're going to live a wheels-off life. When we don't do that, we're going to be standing there in a marriage, in a family, in a work environment, on our team or at school, not knowing what to say, kind of looking like a deer in the headlights, Last weekend, I kicked off this mini-series called Questions. We learned that there are 2,530 different questions in the Bible. God's a God who asks questions. Not that God is like in the dark, not that God doesn't know the answer. He's sovereign. He knows everything. He does ask questions. And also, men and women throughout the Bible ask God questions. God said, Adam and Eve, where are you? He knew where they were. He said, Moses, who made your mouth? He said, Isaiah, Jeremiah, what do you see? Who shall I send? God said, Jonah, aren't you concerned about the great city of Nineveh? And then Jesus said, who do you say that I am? Questions and questions and questions. And every time we ask a question, we're mimicking the majesty of our Maker. Every time I ask the question, I'm reflecting one of the core values of our great and holy God. I've got to ask the right people the right questions to get the right answer. Last time we found out something. We found out that information without interrogation is an abomination. We discovered that we are tasked with the ask. We're to ask. And every time we ask a question, we're always seeking knowledge. Then I shared with you, during a moment of vulnerability, why I am sometimes hesitant to ask questions. And my hesitancy is the same hesitancy that you have. They're big honking barriers. A lot of us don't ask questions because we say to ourselves, if I ask this question, I would show my weakness. If I ask this question, I would have to get to the answer, and I'm fearful of the answer. So weakness and fear keep us tethered to silence. Then we looked at who the right people were. We said we got to ask the right questions to the right people to get the right answers. Who are the right people, we said? Who are those right people? God. We can ask questions to God. God, what do you think about it? God, does it reflect your content, your character, your call on my life? Then we said we got to ask others questions. Not sinful sympathizers, spiritual empathizers. We got to ask people who are doing the stuff the right questions. We got to ask others. Then we said we got to ask ourselves questions. You got to question yourself. Every time you're thinking about an answer, you got to say, okay, against the backdrop of my past, thinking about my present day situation, and also looking into the future, what is the best answer? What is it? And we question ourselves after, first of all, we question God and others. Well, today, the plot clots, as I like to say. Today, we're going to really rumble with this stuff because the right people, we've got that down. We've got to ask the right people the right questions. And you might be saying, what are the right questions? What are the right questions? Well, I want to share the right questions with you because the right questions are found on your message map. And they come from 4 areas. Our questions to God, to others, and to ourselves should come from 4 areas of life. And I want you to jot these down. The first area, or the first zone of question, is the confirmation zone. And here's how we phrase our question. We ask someone who is doing something right a question. We say, what does this confirm in my life? I'm having a leading, I'm planning this, I'm thinking about this, my tendency is to go this way. Does what you're doing or what you're saying or what you're planning confirm something in my life? We ask this to other people, to people who have got it going on, to people who are walking the walk and talking the talk and all that stuff. I think about the early years of Fellowship Church. Fellowship began 14 years ago. We started this thing in rented facilities. We rented an office complex. We rented a fine arts theater in Irving. We rented a high school. Every single weekend, we would build the church and tear it down. Build it up and tear it down. At the end, before we moved in here, we had these semi-trucks, people loading it and packing it. Loading it and packing it, unloading it and setting it up, unloading it and setting it up, and then packing it. That happened for 8 years. We were the church on the move. Well, after Fellowship Church had been going for 2 or 3 years, we got some people together in our church who were into real estate, and we said, let's look for some land. Let's look for some land, we said, in Irving, Texas, because after all, we were an Irving church. Let's look for some land in Irving, Texas, we said. So all these real estate men and women, they went out. And they found different tracts of land in Irving. 30, 40 acres of land. I thought that was a lot of land. The more though God blessed our church, we began to say, maybe we need some more land. So I jumped on a plane, flew up to Chicago, met with a friend of mine who was a mentor of mine, and had lunch with him, and we began to talk about Fellowship Church, and he said, Ed, tell me about your search for land. And I told him, I said, we're looking for, 30, 40 acres, like, whoa, He said, that's too small. He said, that's not enough land. I said, really? He said, a church like Fellowship, the way God's blessing it, you need to look for minimum 100 acres. I thought to myself, what does this guy want us to do, build a golf course? 100 acres. I'm thinking, man, we can barely pay the rent at MacArthur High School and this art center and this office complex. Now you're telling me that as the leader, I should go back to our team and say, yes, let's find 100 acres of land in Dallas-Fort Worth. Whoa. God used this guy because he confirmed a leading we were having. Maybe we need to look outside of Irving. Maybe there is some more land. The Resolution Trust Corporation was dumping land. There was a 159-acre tract of land. And we scraped up enough money to put a down payment on this acreage. At the time, this was just in the sticks. Grapevine Mills wasn't here, Outdoor World wasn't here, all the hotels and restaurants weren't here. People were like, Grapevine? Why are we thinking about going all the way to Grapevine? Wow, what's in Grapevine? Grapevine? That's way out there, man. What have you been smoking? That's crazy. We owed $1.875 million on this property when we tied it up. Without a sign on the property, a year later, we sold 22 acres for $1.875 million. Now, don't sit there and tell me God is not in the land business. Don't even try to tell me that. But the whole thing happened because of questions. What does this confirm? And we asked the right person, the right question, and he gave us the right answer. Here's the next question. The copy question. What should I copy? What should I copy? We need to copy stuff from people's lives, especially the people who are walking the walk and talking the talk. I should copy stuff. When we first started Fellowship Church, I met someone you might have heard about, Rick Warren. He's written an incredible book called The Purpose-Driven Life. I read in the New York Times where it sold like 20 million copies. Rick has been very, very kind to me, very kind to Fellowship Church. And early on, I listened to some tapes from Rick, and these tapes talked about the focus of the church. And I said to myself, man, this is brilliant. It's simple, but not simplistic. So I began to think about 2 chapters in the Bible, specifically Matthew 22 and Matthew 28. Matthew 22, you find the great commandment. What's the great commandment? Jesus said, love God with all your heart, your soul, mind, body. And then he said, love your neighbor as yourself. Vertically, we're with God. Horizontally, with our neighbor. Then Matthew 28 says, go, not go into all the world, preach the gospel to everybody, baptize them, and teach them, Jesus talking, to obey everything I've commanded you. So I began to talk to Rick and look at his church that was only a couple of years old, and I thought, I need to copy some stuff from him. Loving God with all your heart, soul, mind. What is that? That's worship. That's reaching up. Okay? The church is also to be about sharing Christ with others. That's evangelism. That's reaching out. And then, okay, discipleship, becoming a full court follower of Christ. That's reaching in. That's it. Reaching up, reaching out, reaching in. That's our mission statement. That's putting the ball through the net. That's scoring the touchdown. That's taking the hill. Fellowship Church. Reaching up, that's worship. Reaching out, that's evangelism. Reaching in, that's discipleship. That is the threefold ministry and the vision of the church. I copied that. Not the up, out, in thing, but I copied that mentality, that vision from Rick. What should you copy from someone's life? I don't know. I'm just throwing the question out. The cancel question, that's another question. Don't tell me what you're doing, tell me what you're not doing. When you ask questions, we should be thinking, okay, what should I stop in my life? Remember, my favorite subject to talk about is me, and your favorite subject to talk about is you. Don't act like it's not, because we're being honest here. This is church. So you know stuff that I'll never know. Isn't that cool? You know information I'll never know. Look at your neighbor. Your neighbor knows information you'll never know. I know stuff you'll never know. Unless we ask questions. See, I have the opportunity to ask you questions to learn from you. And you have the opportunity to ask others questions, and you can learn it. And so we should question. A conversational cadence should be consistent, should be flowing, Q&A always. What should I cancel? What should I cancel? Let's go back again to the early days of Fellowship Church. This message is kind of like yesterday.com, isn't it? That's good. You can use that. Yesterday.com. That's funny. Yesterday.com. Okay, anyway. Our church began to grow. We were doing all these services, and we were meeting in a fine arts complex, and across the street, we had this old dilapidated theater that we rented. This thing, rat infested. It smelled of stale popcorn and soft drinks. It was horrible. Some of you remember the Fellowship Theater. It was terrible. Anyway, we thought, hey, we'll do simultaneous services. Wow. So in one venue, we'll do the music portion first, and then I'll be speaking first in the other venue, and then we'll have it timed. And we have people in the front row giving us signs like 10 minutes to go, 8 minutes to go. Stop the sermon now, Ed. And then I would stop, and the musicians would stop, and then we would, change venues like ships passing in the night. It was terrible. That lasted for 4 weeks. We canceled it. It didn't work. And that's the great thing about Fellowship Church. Man, we will try stuff. Sometimes it doesn't work. Dismount a dead horse. What should I cancel? You better ask that question a lot, so should I. Don't tell me what you're doing. Don't tell me what you're starting. Tell me what you're not doing. Tell me what you're stopping. Here's another question, the fourth one, create. What should I create? What angle, what idea, what vibe can I get from the right situation, from the right interchange, from the right person? What idea can I put through my creative colander if you're a cook, or Seine if you're a fisherman? What can I put through it to apply to my life? What? You remember the series we did a couple of months ago called Forgiveness, the Real F Word? You remember that? People were like, oh, the real F word. I can't believe you're using that as a title. Do you know we emailed over 100 and some odd pastors to ask their opinion on that title? And 90% said, go for it. It's a great title. I asked a lot of people and they said, go for it. You know, the real F word, forgiveness. Forgiveness. I just felt the leading that I should talk about forgiveness. I've talked a lot about forgiveness, and I looked at a lot of my research I'd done in the past and looked at some old messages I'd done on forgiveness and read some stuff on forgiveness, and I was just thinking about forgiveness. And I began to say, okay, what can I create? What angle, what idea is God going to give me about this series of talks? I knew I had to have some kind of hook, something to tie everything together. I was putting gas in my car. You know the story, if you were here. I looked and saw a jogger. I love to look at the jogger because I love dogs. He had a big Doberman on the end of the leash. He jogged past the busy intersection in front of me into the convenience store behind me. He tied the Doberman to a park bench. He went inside to get something to drink. I looked over the Doberman. The Doberman got startled. He ran toward the busy freeway, jerked the park bench out from its supports, drug it behind him. Sparks were flying into the busy intersection. I said to myself, oh no, we're going to have a major catastrophe here. The dog stopped short of two cars. There was so much torque on the park bench, he slammed the park bench into an SUV and a Volkswagen, messing both cars up. I was like this. It was incredible. I still can't believe it happened. I knew when that happened. I knew I was supposed to tell that story. And I remember getting in my car and going, okay, that is something I've got to share. There's got to be an angle. I just knew it. There's got to be. And then it hit me. Whoa, I'm like that Doberman. And so are you. Because far too long I've been leashed up to unforgiveness. I've had people sitting on my bench, and I've been dragging them around and causing all this collateral damage because of unforgiveness. Maybe an ex-spouse is sitting on your bench. Maybe it's a coach. Maybe it's a teacher. Maybe it's a manager. Maybe it's a child who is sitting on your bench. And then as I began to study it and pray about it, God just gave me this. Unleashing unforgiveness is unnatural. Unleashing unforgiveness is unending. Unleashing unforgiveness is unbelievable. Totally a God idea. And I had the idea from God because I asked this question: what can I create? What can I create? Do you realize you're a creative genius? Now, you might not have ever thought about that because our culture beats the creativity out of us, but I'm telling you, you are, because we're made in the image of our creative God. When you ask questions like this, these four questions, here's what's going to happen. It'll throw your life, your world, into a cycle of success. Most people are afraid of this cycle, but this cycle is true. I believe in every slice of life. The first part of the cycle is the change cycle. Change! We don't like change. Oh, change! I've got to change something. Human beings are very predictable, aren't we? Change, wow. And then from change, we move into conflict. Most of us resist change because of conflict. We resist it because of resistance. If the change is good, if you're asking the right people the right questions, if the change is good, the conflict will be good, and you'll grow. So you got change, conflict, growth. Change, conflict, growth. Change, conflict, growth. Well, Ed, what are you talking about? I mean, explain it to me where I can understand it. How many of you are married here? Lift your hand if you're married. You're married. Now, you know I talk a lot about the importance of a date night. You dating your spouse. And if you're single, hey, singles, 90% of you will get married one day, and that's good news. You better listen very, very carefully to what I'm telling you. Because someone challenged me years ago to start a date night. So I said this, confirm. What can I confirm? What does this date night thing confirm? And I talked to people who were doing a date night, and by looking at their marriage and their life, I said, whoa, it confirms I need a date night. As a spiritual leader, as the husband, I need a date night, okay? I've got that confirmed. Copy. I'll just copy it from this couple. They're doing it. I'm gonna do a date night like they're doing it. Cancel. I'm gonna have to cancel some stuff in my schedule to do a date night. Good stuff. Opportunities to travel and to speak. Good. I've got to cancel it because Thursday night is our night. Create. Oh, I'm gonna be creative, man. I'm gonna do it better than this couple. Because usually when you copy someone and create, you do it better because you click, raise the bar. When I made this decision, out of these questions, what happened? Change. Our marriage began to change. Our family began to change. Talk to Lisa. She'll say, what is the best thing you've done for your marriage over the last 10, 12, 15 years? No doubt. 2 words, date night. Date night. Guys, what you use to get her is what you use to keep her. Conflict. We would leave on Thursday nights, the kids, don't leave, Mommy. Now, parents, would you rather your kids cry or you cry when you got some serious marital problems? And now our kids are like, yay, go ahead and stay out. Just leave for a couple of days, man. Growth is taking place in our marriage in a phenomenal way. Use this in your corporation, in your business. Use this grid in your family, with your team. Use it. It's how we've made decisions and choices and answers here at Fellowship Church. Ask the right people, God, others than ourselves, the right questions, and you'll get the right answers. But don't be afraid of the cycle of success because it will give you great success. What is success? Success is discovering what God has for you. It's walking in the will of God. That's what success is. Fellowship Church, for the last year and a half, 2 years, we've been thinking about and praying through a great answer. We've been asking a lot of questions about one thing I want to share with you right now. This is so cool. We began thinking about this. What's next for Fellowship Church? What do we do? Because our goal is to reach up, out, and in. How do we do that? Do we just stay here like it is, doing the same stuff? I mean, that would be fine and dandy. Or do we leverage a lot of stuff? Do we ask some hard questions and get some answers and begin to dream a little bit? So some of my friends around the country began to do some stuff. They began to start some satellite campuses. And they call these campuses video venues. They said, we have these video campuses. And I said, you talking about everything is video? They said, no, Ed. They're self-supporting churches with their own staff. Everything is live. Live children's church, live preschool, live student activities, live home teams, live music. But, they said, the speaking portion is videoed into these particular areas, these particular venues. I said, that won't work. It's not going to work. I like it live, man. It's going to be live, video. Come on, man. It's got to be real, Keep it real. That's what I said. That's what I said. Then I began to ask myself these questions. Flew down south, talked to a friend of mine, went to his main campus, saw him speak live. Then went to his video venue. And after going to the video venue, I said, I like your video venue better than your main campus. Woo. What does it confirm? It works. And here's how God confirmed it in my life. You know, when I speak, I try to make good eye contact with people, you know. But here's something that really kind of messed me up. I'll show you what I'm talking about. It's been messing with me for a long, long time, and I'll just tell you about it right now. What's your name, big man?
Blake.
What's up, Blake? Can I have your seat for just a second, Blake? Just stand right up here. All right, Blake. Now, Blake, pretty much, okay, 1, 2, 3, 4. Pretty much from the fourth row up, people are looking at me. But, Blake, from your row back, man, let me tell you what people do, Blake. You won't believe this. I'm talking, and I'm trying to make eye contact, and people are doing like this. And sometimes, Blake, they're doing like this. And I said to myself, man, I'm really boring. So I would start pacing back and forth to try to catch their eye. I'm over here. I'm over there. And then I figured it out. I didn't mean to spit on you. Then I figured it out. Blake. They're looking at the video screen. You know what I'm saying? All right, man, thanks. All right. They're looking at the video screen. So we have all this amazing technology. So it began to confirm that in my life. Well, let's leverage the technology and let's maybe rent and lease some venues around the Dallas-Fort Worth area. We can utilize some amazing leadership we have in these certain areas. And these leaders can invite their friends to attend Fellowship Church who normally would not drive an hour to Fellowship Church, although we do have a number of people who do drive an hour. And then we can reach up better and out better and in better. But I said it wouldn't work. But after my trip and after studying the churches in South Carolina, Tulsa, Oklahoma, San Diego, California, Atlanta, Georgia, wow. What can I copy? Well, we've asked that question a lot. We can copy. I mean, a lot of stuff these churches are doing, we're just going to copy it. They're doing some great stuff. We're going to copy it. Because they copy all the stuff from us. We'll copy from them. Cancel. What can we cancel at Fellowship Church? Well, we can probably, since we're adding all these other services and all these other sites, we can probably move down to 4 services. We could add some seats here, maybe like that, maybe take the wall kind of back in these areas. That's cool. Cancel some stuff. Create. Oh, man. We'll be able to do it better than these other churches. You know why? Because whenever you copy somebody, you should do it better. I hope you do. I hope we do. What can we do better? See, I like to be the 4th or 5th one trying it. Oh, man, that was a stupid mistake you made there. Yeah, we would never do that. No, but these people have told me, yeah, don't do that, and you guys think about this, and don't do that. So we've learned 2 years. We've been asking ourselves these questions. Now, what's happened? Change. Change. Conflict, tension. What will fellowship look like? Is it turning into a total video thing? And will we, how about Rob and people like Vanessa and people like Yancey and Eric Orson and Michael Higdon? Will I still see the band? Yes. They're going to rotate around to different spots, and we're going to have our own staff in these certain locations. It's going to be a great thing. I'm going to even show up some and speak at these different locations. And we have this phenomenal high definition screen here that'll be out there in these venues. So it's like the speaker's going to be like 8 or 9 feet tall. Look like Goliath, you know? Growth will take place because after all, that's the goal, growth. It's to reach as many people as we can. God has gifted us in so many ways here at Fellowship Church. I look at so many people. You're so gifted. You're so talented. It's time for many of us to step up and serve and do stuff that we've kind of been waiting to do for a long, long time, but we're going to need your help. Where are they? Well, one of the ones that we are working on right now that'll be complete here in January is a 110,000 square foot building in Plano off 75 and Legacy. And here's what was crazy. We looked at our database and we discovered 25,000 specific names that had visited Fellowship Church over the last 4 years from the Plano area. 25,000. I can't even get my mind around that. Whoa, might be a good place to look for a building. What do you think? And now people know that we're retrofitting this building. We have a sign out there. People come up to us, oh man, I'm there, and I've heard about Fellowship Church. I've been one time, but it's too far to drive, but now I'm there. I'm going to be involved. And count me in, man. I'll be there parking and greeting and serving in children's church and all this stuff. So it is going to be an amazing thing. We're also looking at a spot right now, I can't tell you where it is, in downtown Dallas. We have a hunk of humanity that comes to Fellowship Church from downtown. And this one's going to be, really, really, really cool. Can you imagine people like Derek Bonneau and Shoreline and Eric Orson doing worship downtown Dallas and that kind of edgy I'm telling you, it's going to be off the hook. We're also looking at some land in the Alliance Corridor. And also, too, we've talked to some people in South Florida and maybe even Sin City, Las Vegas. So we already have some leadership teams working. So this is going to be a very, very cool deal. So, yeah, it'll, I believe, improve Fellowship Church in every way. So, again, we use the confirmation thing, the copy thing, the cancel thing, the create thing, the change, conflict, growth in all of this. So that's the right questions that we're working through right now. Do I know all the answers? No way. Do we know all the answers? No way. We've never known all the answers. We didn't know all the answers when we started Fellowship Church. We didn't know all the answers when we bought this land. We didn't know all the answers when we built this building. We didn't know all the answers now. We know a lot of them, but not all of them. And that's the fun part. That's the faith part, isn't it? That's the uncertainty of leadership, because we've got to totally trust and lean on God during this. It's going to be great. Ask the right people, God, others, ourselves, the right questions, and then we'll get, I love this part, oh, this is good, the right answers. What are the right answers, Ed? What do they look like? Well, let's change gears for a second to talk about the answers. The answers. We have 3 sets of possible answers. And just jot these down, if you will. Actions or feelings, service or self, giving or getting. Actions, feelings, service, self, giving or getting. All of the answers in life will pretty much fit in those categories. Let's talk about the first one. Actions or feelings. This word commitment, it's a big time word, commitment. Commitment is about what? It's actions driven. It's not feelings driven. It's actions driven. Commitment. Think about the big 5. Your relationship with Jesus Christ. Your relationship if you're married to your spouse. Your relationship with your kids. Your connectivity and vision in the marketplace. Then, let's say, living a healthy lifestyle. Those are the big 5, all right? Those are about commitment. Those aren't about feelings. Feelings. Many times I don't feel like praying. I don't feel like reading the Bible. I don't feel like loving Lisa like Christ loved the church. I don't feel like it. I don't feel like spending quantity and quality time with my kids. I just don't feel like it. I don't feel like coming to work a lot of the times. I feel like fishing. I don't feel like working. I don't feel like drinking carrot juice and eating bean curd. I don't feel like it. I don't feel like pumping iron and running. I don't feel like it. Like yesterday I ran 4 miles. I didn't feel like it. Actions overtake feelings. That's commitment. We don't feel our way into an action. We act our way into a feeling. Years ago, before I started Fellowship Church with a group of 150 people, I did a lot of marriage counseling. And I sat down one time with a young couple. They both looked like supermodels, you know. And they were telling me about their marriage. And here's what the husband said. I quote, "You know, Ed, I just don't feel in love anymore. I just don't feel it anymore." And I said, "Your question, the incredible insight?" "Well, I just don't feel it." I said, "I don't either. I don't always feel it." I said, "Man, you're signing up for a whack-a-doodle-doodle life if you're into the feelings thing." Feelings? Feelings? That's nutty. That's why our culture is so crazy now. We're all about feelings. Commitment. We act our way into a feeling. We don't feel our way into an action. "Well, I don't feel like being the kind of wife to my husband I should." Good. Act like it. You have a covenant, a commitment before God. Act like it. The feelings will follow. I don't feel like working out. You're not going to. Just start working out. Just start eating healthy. The feelings will follow. I just feel good after I've worked out. I feel good after I've eaten disciplined the whole day, but not while I'm eating this stuff. It tastes like styrofoam, you know? Commitment. Actions drive the deal. Compromise. You want to live a life of compromise? Feelings drive the deal. Feelings drive your actions. I'll just feel my way into it, if I feel it. Well, you could have gotten a hold of some bad sushi, some bad pizza. Whoa. I talked to somebody recently. Here's what they told me. This is classic. Oh. "I just don't feel like forgiving. I just haven't come to the point where I feel like..." You never will. I have never felt feelings of forgiveness, ever. It's not going to happen. We do it because of God. We just do it. We don't feel our way into it. I just won't forgive until I feel like it. You'll never feel like it. Feelings are freaky, man. They're funky. It's about commitment. Now, I'm not saying that feelings will not follow. You will not have feelings. But feelings flow like the tide charts. High tide, low tide. High tide, low tide. My feelings on high tide, I guess I'll follow it. That means it's of God. No, it doesn't. No, it does not either. Feelings. Whoa, feelings. Feelings. Let's go to the next one. Oh, you want some scriptural support for that? Philippians 3:13. What did Paul say? He said, "This one thing I feel like doing." No. He said, "This one thing I do. This one thing I do." The second set of choices. Service or self. Matthew 20:26. Jesus said, "You want to become great? Become a servant." Servant. I think Britney Spears said it best. You got to serve somebody. No, she didn't say that. So we're going, really? She said that. I didn't realize it. No, it's Bob Dylan, not Britney Spears. Whoa. You got to serve somebody. You got to serve somebody. We live in Dallas-Fort Worth. I'm glad I have this belt buckle on. The belt buckle of the Bible Belt. The place where we worship the Bible. The Bible's not supposed to be worshiped. I just got to study the Bible and study it and information and no, that's not it. The Bible's not written for our information, it's written for our transformation. You want to grow? I know what, Ed, I need another Bible study. No, you don't. No, you don't. You want to grow? Get outside yourself. I've gone to seminary, taken the Greek and the Hebrew, done the doctrinal work. How have I grown the most? Getting outside of Ed. Not thinking about Ed. Not thinking about Ed's navel and the lint in Ed's navel and singing, "Kumbaya, Lord, kumbaya. It's about me, Lord, kumbaya." You're not going to grow that way. You're going to grow when you do what Jesus did. You apply and live out his stuff. You step out and live out his stuff. You become a servant. I don't think about me, I think about you. That's how I grow. That's how we grow. That's what the Bible says. And see, we don't like to hear it because we just want to sit there and soak it in. Just feed me, baby. Just go ahead and feed me. Giving or getting? That's the third set of answers. Giving or getting? Acts chapter 20, verse 35, it's more blessed to give than receive. Is God anti-ownership? Is God anti-stuff? Is God anti-money? No. No, he's not. You mean it's okay to have goals, to get stuff? Yeah, man, good for you. Go for it. Pile it up, make a lot of money. Good for you. Houses, whatever. Yeah, that's good. But here's the caveat. We should never get to get. Too many of us get to get. We don't get to get. If you get to get, you're going to live a life that's wackadoodle-doo. You meet people who have a lot of stuff, they've got a lot of stuff just to get it, they're whacked. Most of the people I know who are the wealthiest are the wackiest people I've ever known. If you know people who are wealthy, most of them are just nuts. They get to get. If you get to get, you're signing up for a long life. We get to give. We get to give. God's given it. We give it. God's given it. We get it. We give it. I should become a river, not a reservoir that dams all the stuff up. We got the stuff. We're to give it. I get to give. And here's the cool thing about God. God has said, just minimally, we can live on 90% of the stuff. He said that. We're to give 10% to the local church. God could have said, you know what, you give 90% to the church, you live on 10. I'm God, you're not. But the answer is going to be about giving, not getting. Financially, it's going to be about that way, giving our talents and our time. It's about giving. It's about giving. It's about having a loose grip on the stuff we get in this life. So we get it and we give it, we get it and we give it, we get it and we give it. We've got to ask the right people the right questions to get the right answers. But if we don't, we're going to end up like I was on that television show, just, where are the answers? I didn't ask the right people the right questions, and we'll end up all messed up. The bottom line, though, is questions. Questions comes from the word quest, which means an adventure or a journey. Does your questions reflect your quest? Your quest to discover God's best? I don't know. That's a question you have to answer. And I have to answer too.